All right, good. Having seen the session one and the session two, understanding the basic concepts of SQL, the purpose, types, and the classification. And today it's a time to understand how to connect to SQL Server by using SQL Server Management. Okay, SQL Server Management tool, how we are going to connect, how we are going to provide the authentication methods, and what are the credentials I need to use in order to really get into this SQL. Okay, of course, you need to have this SQL Server already installed in your machine. If not, at the end of the session or in the next week, we'll see very closely how to install by yourself on your personal laptop or desktop. All right. After the installation, if everything is installed properly, we can just straight away go to the start menu. The way you just go to any for any software, you will find Microsoft SQL Server 2014, because my system has been updated long back 2014, and if your system is being kept as an option like update, every time whenever there's a new version, it will automatically update itself. There's no need to manually update. So whichever the latest version is available, you can install, or you can install the older version, doesn't matter, because within no time you'll see the new version is automatically updated on your system without your involvement. So now once you go to the start menu and once you go to all programs, you'll find Microsoft SQL Server 2014 as a folder. In my case, it is 2014. In your case, it might be 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21 is going to come up. These are the different versions we have. More or less, more features have been added for the DBA. Okay, a lot of integrations being connected, a lot of integrations being done with the web. So here our main intention is to understand how to write the query, but not learning Microsoft SQL Server by itself. All right. So once you click on this, there are a lot of tools which will available within this 2014. And what is our interesting area is SQL Server 2014 Management Studio. In the short form, most of the people call it as SSMS. Nothing but SQL Server Management Studio. Okay, SSMS, that is a SQL Server Management Studio. You can just copy it and put it on your desktop so that you can just use it as a shortcut. Just double click on that. Once your installation is successful, okay, once your installation is successful, you'll be finding the very first screen asking for to log in. Okay, once this is how the interface is going to look like, depend upon your version, but this is the first screen. What you see is, and before I actually enter into my screen, okay, you can see something gray out behind the scenes. But the very first thing is very important, like first screen, it is asking you what is your server type, okay, what is your server name, what is authentication, connect, cancel, help, options. So there are a lot of options available. And before I actually get into this screen, I want to understand one by one. Okay, or you'll be getting only this screen if you have successfully installed your Microsoft SQL Server on your machine. All right. So while installing, I'll tell you what are the requirements, what kind of configuration you should have, what kind of hardware you should have, what kind of RAM is capable of handling this SQL Server. Okay, everything we'll discuss, but for now, let's see how to connect itself. Okay. So one thing before I actually jump into this, we need to understand SSMS. Okay, I keep using this word now. SSMS, nothing but SQL Server Management Studio. You can see at the top, there's no need to remember, Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. Now, one thing has to be very, very clear. The software which I'm seeing on my desktop right now, it is only a skeleton. It is only a client tool. What I mean by client tool, this is a client tool through which you are going to connect to the server in order to create your database, in order to create your tables, in order to insert something. If you want to update something, you want to do something called a database operations. Whenever you want to do, you are actually doing from this tool called SSMS, but actually the database is not sitting in your system. Okay, so guys, keep in mind, SQL Server Management Studio is just a client tool to connect to the database server. And it is not the server by itself, right? The application, what you see, it's not a server. It is only a just skeleton. Let me compare so that you can understand. If I say www.google.com, that page, what is appearing on your machine, it's a client page. But whatever the search information you are giving and clicking on the Google search, what happens, this particular search will go to the server and it will try to get the information for you on your client machine again. So this is called as a client server technology. The client tool will be sitting on the client system. Okay, I'm a client. I'm sitting. This application is sitting on my system, but the server is not on my system, right? The server is not on my system. Being this is my personal desktop. Okay, there is a thin line here. Being it's my personal desktop, the server and the client both are sitting at one place. That's what we need to remember here. Both are sitting at one place. That is your client tool and as well as your server tool. Both are existing in the same system. Okay, if you're working in any organization, okay, any organization irrespective of the scale, you'll be seeing that every person, okay, we are all developers. Let's assume we are all developers. We all install this SQL management studio. That is one of the tool only in this SQL. Is a one of the tool which will help you to create database tables and whatnot. We can do everything. This is the only a tool through which you are going to connect to the server. And the question is, where is the server installed now? The server is installed in some centralized location of your company. It could be a UK, it could be US, it could be anywhere, maybe within your space of your company. So the server will be sitting at a centralized location. All these clients, we are all the clients, we are all trying to access one particular server in which we have a database under which we have a tables. Just try to visualize. We have scattered over different clients who are trying to access one particular server. That server being installed within your organization or outside of your organizations anywhere. And nowadays, more or less, we are using a cloud, right? So that's how we need to remember, like, this is not a server. It is just a client tool through which we are trying to access the server. And as I said, being I'm installing on my system, it's both the things are available within my system itself. So that means it's not two different things. Now, the very first one, server type. The first one, I want to understand what is the server type. Server type is basically defines you in which kind of environment you want to go and start working. All right. So what is the environment? Let me click on the first option. We have something called database engine. We have something called analysis service. Third one is talking about reporting services. The fourth one is talking about integrated services. Okay. As you are just trying to do learning this, you might, when you are trying to research, you'll be finding not exactly these words, but you'll be finding a different words. SSES, okay, it's typically called as SSAS. Let me make a note here so that we can see what we are talking. The very first one is SSES, nothing but uh, that is nothing but SQL Server. Okay, SQL Server. I'm just leaving the first one. We'll come to the first one later because that is the most important for us. SSA stands for SQL Server Analysis Services. Okay, SQL Server Analysis Services. And next one, let's see what is the next one. We have a reporting services. This is typically called as SSRS. Okay, SSRS stands for SQL Server Reporting Services. Okay, it is a reporting services. The last one, IS. Okay, integration services. So how you are going to write it? SSIS. So SSIS stands for SQL Server Integrated Services. Now I want to understand these terminologies. I want to understand more. You can understand more if you want to be the master of SQL Server, but not because we are not learning SQL Server here. Here we are trying to understand SQL. But however, good to have an understanding what are these buzzwords, what is the advantage of this. And top of it, something is sitting called SSMS, which we are keep talking about it, which stands for SQL Server Management Studio. So this is what more interesting and important for me, SQL Server Management Studio. By using this SQL Server Management Studio, what we can do is we can create a database. We can get into such environment where you can create a database, we can access it, we can drop it, we can insert the data into that, we can create a table, we can do all those operations by using one and only tool called SSMS, which stands for SQL Server Management Studio. All right. The second one is SSAS. SSAS is basically, as I said, SQL Server Analysis Service, which the word itself is indicating is basically used to do some analytical processing, maybe a data mining, basically when you're using a business intelligence. Okay, I'm sure you know what is a business intelligence. We have certain tools like ClickSense, ClickView, Power BI, Tableau. Okay, these are all business intelligence systems for which whenever you want some analysis services, this tool will allow you. So when you are learning SQL Server, that doesn't mean that you are just learning this. We have to learn all these concepts when you can say that I learned Microsoft SQL Server. Okay, for now we are just seeing the first one because we are working on the SQL. Okay, the next one is reporting services. Basically, this allows you to integrate with so-called the first one, MS SQL Server Management Studio, in order to create certain reports for your organization on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, whatever. So the last one is integrated services. Integrated services is basically used to create different kind of transactional flat files, okay, which is being loaded, transformed. It's basically use ETL concept, okay. I'm sure we know what is ETL. Let me write here. ETL stands for extraction. That is the first letter. You are extracting the data from a different sources because your company is not relying only one particular database, or it is not just uh, s- uh, saving all its data in your notepad or flat files or dat files or excel file or xml file, json files, whatnot. We have a different sources for the organization, right? So this ETL tool will help you to extract the data. After extracting, your job is not done because we'll not always get a good data, right? We will get most of the time bad data, which we need to clean it up. We need to transform it. So T stands for transformation. Basically, transformation is nothing but we are making unstructured data into structured data. What I mean is unstructured data which is not very clean and easy to read for the human beings. We cannot read it actually. Even the system cannot understand. So we need to transform it. We need to transform it so that we can start loading. Okay, and the latest buzzword being used, that is R. Okay, ETL is basically extraction, transformation, and loading. The last R letter stands for reporting. So once you do all these exercises in any organization, final job is to create a beautiful report. All right. So this is all about your SQL Server. Actually, we are not talking about SQL. Rather, this is a SQL Server for different classifications what you have, or different server types, or you can see these are the services which are provided by the Microsoft to the help of this Microsoft SQL Server. SQL Server is a product from the Microsoft. Okay. So these are the four services. And the first one, when you look at the database engine, that's nothing but SSMS. That's what you need to remember. Let's try to have a quick look again. Database engine, SSMS. What is analysis services? Nothing but SSES. And the third one is RS, nothing but SSRS, that is reporting services, integrated services. So by using a different service type, you can do a different job altogether here. So what is our job? What we are intend to learn, that is a database engine. So once you give this database engine as an option, it will allow you to such an environment when you can start creating the database and the tables for your organization. So that's about the service type. You need to remember four things just for at least interview purpose, but not for a working procedure. Because if you're working as a Microsoft SQL Server developer, then you need to learn all these tools. But here we are trying to be a SQL developer where we can start using, implementing on all the relational database management system. The next one is server name. Okay, how do I got my server name here? Who provided me? If I'm working in any typical any organization, irrespective of the scale, again, whether it's a small, big, whatever the size of organization, it's not me who's going to decide what should be my server name. It will be once you join any organization, you need to raise a ticket. The SQL Server system will be installed on your computer by your admin itself. Okay, and they will tell you this is a server name through which you can log in. So how I got this Montyexcel SQL Express as a server name, because while installing, I myself provided, I want to have my server name as Montyexcel because it's my own personal laptop, right? My personal desktop. So you can give whatever the name you want, but when you're working in an organization, you'll never get an opportunity to create your own server name. No, never. It's not possible to create your server name. You need to go with whatever the server being provided by your admin. And the third important thing here is which option should I use for authentication? What is authentication? Basically, how to log onto your computer. Okay, how to log on to your system, how to log on to your certain applications. Do I need to use my company's credentials? Do I need to use my personal information, password, and this thing? There are two different things. One is SQL Server authentication. That means you need to provide the login, that is your ID and the password. If you're going with this option, what would be the username and the password for this is being you installed on your personal laptop. I keep repeating this, you need to understand. If you are working in an office, it will be different. If you're working on your personal system, it will be different. Why? Because if you are using SQL Server authentication, I would be using here admin and password as admin. That's it. But if you're working in an organization, you'll not be using an admin because everybody knows that is the username and it should be confidential. Data, you should have some security, right? So you might be using your employee ID and you'll be using, might be using Windows password, or there would be a special password which is given to you. Okay, so here I'm just going with blindly Windows authentication. Whatever my Windows username password is, just go with that. I don't want to provide anything else. So that's how you can just finish off the first screen to understand better understanding how initially you need to log in. Now the question is, being I'm working on my personal desktop, I'm able to express everything what is being used here. What is being used here? Excuse me. Okay. So what is being used here, but when you're working in any organization, you will not be looking into all these options by default, because if you are working in database engine, that is SSMS tool, you'll be given to only one option, that is database engine. If I am working in the environment called reporting services, I'll be giving only one axis called reporting services. So that means you'll never get an opportunity to select all these options. You'll never get which environment I should go. No, if you are into such environment, you will be getting only this option. So no need to worry what option should I use it. Once you get this screen, simply click on connect in your organizations. But when you're working on personal computers, just ensure which option, what is the server name which I've given, correct or not, what is the authentication, just click on the connect. Once you click on the connect, you'll be seeing this a typical SQL Server Management Studio, uh, a kind of a Microsoft so-called kind of a typical environment. Okay, we'll call something called at the top you'll have a menus, and at the bottom you have something called toolbar. Okay, a typical kind of a style of Microsoft which is being used since long time. So once you see this, I cannot see anything here. Everything is blank, fade out. So the very first thing, first window, I always wanted, whenever I'm learning anything, I always wanted to understand what are the different components are important in order to start my project. Okay, what is the first thing I need? Where should I write the query? Where is actually the database looks like? I mean, where exactly the database looks is sitting, how it looks like, where my table is, how it looks like. So where is the output coming in? I want to understand the components. Even if you are spending much amount of time in understanding, that's not a problem, because once you are very clear with which tool does what, then later on writing queries will be very easy for us. So very first option we need to understand, that is Object Explorer. If you want to know what is the shortcut, don't run here and there. You can see directly F8 key here. So once you click on F8 key, or if you're clicking on from menu, always Microsoft allows you to go with two options always, either shortcut keys, or either you can use simply drag and drop option. Just click on this Object Explorer, and I want to understand a little bit more. It's not the same case if I'm learning on MySQL, because MySQL interface is different. So don't give a lot of importance in learning the tool. Rather, try to see where to write the query, where to see the output. That's it. That's how your mindset should be while you're learning the SQL. But if you want to be associated with Microsoft product because your company is using, try to have more understanding of SQL Server product itself. Okay, so when I look at the very first screen, it's a free floating window. Okay, free floating window. The problem is once you move this default window, I don't know where to keep it. So the thing is, like, once you keep it here, it is lying here, and if you want to keep it right, it's going right, but it is not still fixed. Actually, it's still moving. So what you can do is just move it, and as long as if you find a gray out area, just click on it. You'll see this coming and sitting at the left side. In the same way, if you want to put it the right side or the bottom side, where you want to keep it, because this works like Explorer for us. Okay, if you look at your Windows Explorer, I hope everybody remembers. If you go to C drive, I can see what are the different folders we have. Why do we need this? Because I want to see in which folder which file I'm keeping. Okay, even if you remember this VBA, okay, VBA editor, left side we have a Project Explorer. What this Project Explorer helps us to understand how many sheets you have, how many modules you have, where I'm writing the code. Okay, that is a VB editor. If I'm coming to SQL, I need to understand where my database is sitting. So where my database is sitting, where my tables are there. So everything is being exposed through the help of this tool, that is Object Explorer. Okay, we call it as a Windows Explorer. Okay, in the Windows environment, here we are calling as Object Explorer. So once you look at this Object Explorer, we can see the lot of options available here. The very first one talking about database. This is the most important thing which we are going to see now. The next one is security. The next one is server objects, replication, management. So if you look at, apart from the first one, rest of the objects are all not relevant to SQL developer, because all these four options are related to a DBA. DBA stands for database administrator, who will try to have the complete control on its clients. Whether whatever the thing they are doing, whether they're inserting a new data, whether they're creating a table, he is going to monitor everything through the help of all these folders. That is security. I mean, you can put certain guidelines, you can put some hard and fast rules, so that you can never do any kind of okay, data integrity issues. You can he can easily manage through the help of these options. So let me explore more. When I click on this database, what I'm going to see. Okay, once I click on this database, the very first one. Okay, just let me expand this. You can see a system databases. Okay, when I click on this, there is cylindrical shape of icon which you can see here. It's called as a master. Okay, there is a model, there is MSDB, there is a temp DB. What are these? All these. Okay, under the, if you look at, this is something like a Windows folder only. The first one we have a database. Under that there is a folder called system database. Under that there is a folder called master database, under which again we have a certain folders. One is tables, views, synonyms, programs, service, storage, security. All these are really important for each database. These databases are not created by me. Whenever you're installing, by default, system will, while system will create by itself these databases. Okay, these are the test databases. If you want to play with this test database, never do that. The reason is these databases are really required for the effective function of these tool. So never touch them, never try to modify them, never try to delete them. Okay, these are the system databases. So as I said, we need the very first option called database here. Under the database, we have all these databases existing already. Okay, these are the databases which are already existing. When you click on a master, we have a master. When you click on a tables, we have a system tables. This is all the system tables which we have here, which are really important for the effective function of this Microsoft SQL Management Studio, rather Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. If you want this effectively run without any failure, we need all these files, folders, tables, views, everything is required. But anyhow, we are not depending on this, because we want to create our own database. We want to create our own database. All right, we have seen Object Explorer, under which we have a different folder tree-like structure, a Windows folder structure, where we have a database, security, server object, replication, management. So don't worry about all these folders, because as I said, we are not learning Microsoft SQL Server, rather we are learning SQL queries here. So here my main intention to be how to create a database, how to create a table, how to create multiple tables, how to create multiple tables. Okay, because maybe my project is bigger, larger, so I have to have multiple tables. So once I create multiple tables, I'm not happy, because I want to join them. So everything is being done with your queries. So that's what we are going to learn. All right. So having seen that Object Explorer, my question is where to write the query here. I want to understand where to write the query. If you want to write the query first, let me close this just for fun. Uh, by any chance, if you think like your Object Explorer is gone, not to worry, go to the View and Object Explorer. That's it. Okay. Closed, View, Object Explorer. So anytime you can just invoke it. Now, the thing is, as I said, like I want to go for a new query, okay, query window because of we have seen Object Explorer. Now I want to go for a query window where I can start writing query. If I look at this toolbar, there is an option already, new query. Okay, so I want to learn the shortcuts. Don't worry at all. Just place the mouse pointer on that particular option. You will see a shortcut already been displaying. So you are learning by placing your mouse pointer there. No need to check with anyone. What is the shortcut for this? No, just place the mouse pointer. Either you can click on it, either you can use Control N because I just learned by placing my mouse pointer on that we can use the Control N, to invoke your query window. Once I click on that, you will see that there is a white canvas which is going to display it on your screen. Okay, a white canvas. Let me close this again. I said Control N. This is a white screen canvas where it is asking me you can start writing your queries. Okay, before I actually write the queries, there's one more important thing which I want to understand. Okay, colors. I'm more attracted to colors because even the VBA, how quickly I could able to learn and understand, easily able to read the code is with the help of a colors. So in every session, I'll try to ensure that I'll make you understand the colors in the sense when I'm writing a query, which color, which word is showing which color, and how to identify them, how to remember them, is that can be easily managed with the help of a colors. Okay, so the very first one, okay, my screen is very small. If I write something here, you cannot see, and how to increase the font size. Not to worry, just use your control and your mouse pointer to increase or decrease your font size. Okay, there's always an option if you go for a view of tools option where you can increase from options, tools size, you can increase it. Okay, you can increase your uh, font size, not worry, but you can use straight from here. Okay, I'm not understanding how to use the control and mouse pointer, no worry, just go to the bottom at the left. You can still increase to up to 400 here. Okay, up to 400. This is 150 size. This is, let me go for a 400. Yeah, this is a 400 size where you can clearly see the text size is being increased. Okay, so let's try to understand the colors here. Once today, if you are clear with the colors, whatever the stuff I'm going to write, you can easily understand what I'm writing, whether this guy is writing a commands, whether this guy is writing a function, whether he's writing some table name or a database name, how we are going to quickly remember. Okay, let me write here simply colors, which is not a command, which is not a keyword. That's why you can see there is a red underline color for this colors. A text I've written colors under which you can see a red color because it is not started as a command. It's not started with any command. Okay, it is not a right word. It's not a keyword. So that's why it's showing as an error. Okay, the text entered in the code editor. This is called as a code editor or query editor. Different people call it as a different ways. You can call it as we can call it as a query editor or code editor. So every word is being assigned as a category. Okay, each category is identified by a color. Okay, those who are associated with me in the previous patches for the VBA, they know very well. If something in blue color is a keyword, something is red color, it's an error, something is black color, user defined. So in the same fashion, if I need to understand my SQL code editor, how the colors is going to be defined here, in what way, I mean which color is uh, being given for which one. Okay, the very first one, let me write here red color. Okay, the red color is basically whenever you see anything in the red color, that is a SQL string. Okay, that is SQL string. Now you can see a different colors, don't worry, I'll try to explain. The first color, the first and foremost color which is important, that is red color. That means if I'm writing your name, okay, I'm writing a employee name as a Deepti. Deepti is a string, okay, it's a customer name or say it's a participant name. It is a string, it is not a number, right? So in that case, this will show you in red color. So whenever you're finding any text in red color, you need to remember that is a string. String is nothing but characters. text, right? So red color is SQL string. Let's go for the next one. You'll find something called green. Green is nothing but comments. Okay. Now, what is a comment and why do we need it? In any programming language or query language, we use comments. Now, before we actually know how to write a comment, okay, and before we actually know how to comment, we need to understand the word called comment. Comment is nothing but I've written a very big program, very big program, but if I just visit my own code, I don't know for which purpose I've written. So I want to write a nice story before my actual program. I want to write some kind of a documentation, which is not a query, which is not a program by itself, but it is additional notes for my program. I'm writing some stuff. This code is being designed because somebody in the business has requested on so and so date. I have the email confirmation, and this code is being used for so and so account number. It is being requested my boss, his email ID, and everything. You can document it the way you want. It's like SOP you are writing. Okay, comment is always talking about additional information about your program, or here in this case, it's a query, right? For a queries you are writing. I've written some query to retrieve some information from a table. So I'm writing a comment at the top. This query can be executed or run to get these results. You want to write some additional information that is always shown in green color. Okay, that's a comment. I'm actually not commenting now. I'm just showing you how these colors can look like. The next one is black. Whenever you find something SQL CMD, nothing but command, you will find you'll find that's as in a black color. Okay, so red color, green color, black color. Whenever you see SQL CMD, nothing but command, you'll see in a black color. There is something called magenta's color. Okay, there's a magenta. We have multiple colors here. Unlike VBA, we have multiple magenta. Whenever you find, you'll say these are the system functions. Okay, we have a lot of functions which you are going to learn in next core of duration. So we'll see functions. Okay, whenever you see any function when you're writing upper, lower, okay, substring, whatever the functions which you are going to use, you'll see in a magenta color. So tomorrow, when you are going to see somebody, SQL developer is writing extensive queries, by looking at the query, you should understand, okay, this is showing up in red color. That's probably a customer name or the a product name or whatever. And if you find something in the green color, you should easily remember it's a comment. Whenever you find something in the black color, SQL command. When you see a magenta color, nothing but it is a system function. That's how easily you should remember. The next one is maroon color. Don't worry, we don't have 256 colors here, just a few colors to remember how it works. So this is basically this is for SQL Server stored procs, I believe. Yeah. So maroon color is basically SQL Server stored procs. Procs is nothing but procedures here. Procedures is something which we want to learn at the end of the session. The reason is stored procedures are nothing but collection of different queries which you are going to learn throughout this course. All this combinedly, when you put together, is called as procedures. So that's the end of the job which you are going to learn. But whenever you see procedures, when you're writing, you'll always see in a maroon color. That's a color which is being given by Microsoft. So whenever you find something called a gray color, something darker below, let's see later, but it's a gray color, and you find in operators. Okay, so whenever you see any text which is showing in a green color is operator. And let me quickly recap. Red color stands for SQL string, nothing but any text information. Green stands for the comments. Black stands for SQL commands. Magenta stands for the system functions which you are trying to use. That means there are two different functions here. Either you are using a system functions, either you are using your own functions. Whatever the case might be, if you are using a system functions that tend to show in a magenta color. The next one is maroon color. Maroon color is SQL Server stored procedure. And the last one is gray color. Gray color is basically whenever you're using operators. We know what are the operators: arithmetic, comparison, and logical operators. So whenever you're using these kind of operators, which you're going to see very soon, those are going to be shown in green color. Now the question is, these are not queries what I've written. This is an additional information which I'm writing as a notes for myself. So when I'm running this, it will show a lot of errors because these are not queries, right? This is not a program what I've written. This is simply an information which I'm trying to show you. Okay. So how to comment so that your SQL server should understand this is not meant for running query. This is only a notes written by user, how it is going to understand. So whenever I want to write a single line comment, that is, this is a single line comment, how you are going to comment it by using just two hyphens will make that entire line as a comment. Just writing a two lines. Let me see. It is not taking single hyphen. I need to use a two hyphens. If you are using VBA, I use supposed to use apostrophe here to make a comment. But if you are using a Python, something else. So every programming language has own kind of stuff to be used to comment. If I'm using ClickSense, I need to use two forward slashes. If I'm using SQL Server, I need to use two hyphens only to make a single line comment. Okay, let me understand how to make a multiple line because I don't want to make it I don't want to make it multiple line comment, something like this, single line, single line, single line. It's very boring, and this is not the way to do it because you have written extensive notes and you don't want to make each line by line comment. So you can simply use forward slash and a star here and come down at the end of your line, use a star and end. That's it to make this as a multiple comments. Please do remember, whatever you see in green color, your system is least bothered to read it because this is for only end user. This is for your friend. This is for your boss. This is for your stakeholder. Somebody to understand what the code you have written and what is the additional information you are providing. This is not meant for running. It is not a query. It is not a program. It is only a just stuff which you have written to make yourself understand what is this all about. All right. So this is about it. How to make it a single line comments, comments. So if you're not interested using keyboard, just select all this portion and go for here at this top. Even if you don't know, just place your mouse pointer. You'll see somewhere here, comment out the selection lines. Just click on it. You'll see these lines are comment out. Okay. If you want to instantly remove it, just use uncomment and make it uncomment. Okay. Just comment it, uncomment it. I just said comment is basically additional information, nothing to do with the program by itself. It is not a program, guys. This is a single line. This is a multiple lines. Let me write here. This is multiple lines comments. So how you do it? Let me remove this all these comments because it looks like a single line. Uncomment this. I'm going to the very first one. Just use forward slash and star, forward slash and star, come down and use the star and again forward slash. So that's it. This entire line is become, now I want to give some space. So simply select it and use a tab or simply go for indents here. We have some decrease indent and increasing. Increase in the sense you want to just put in some center. You want to just use for a readable purpose. That's it, nothing else. So this is how exactly I'm going to write the comments. Okay, this is how exactly how I'm going to remember the colors. Now, what if tomorrow somebody is developing some queries or writing some programs? I've seen some weird colors. Somebody is showing the background color completely. Right now on my system, it is white color. Somebody changed to a black color. Okay, the text to white color, string to red color, white color. He has changed completely opposite to the nature, not nature, sorry, system defined colors. So what you're going to do, how you're going to identify. So never try to change the standard settings. But however, whenever you want to change, there is always an option to change these colors. You can just go to this and font and just click on the fonts and colors which we can check. Plain text, how you want to display, line numbers, how you want to check, how you want to give the highlighters. You can check all the changes. Okay, you can give whatever the colors you want, but never try to change the colors. If you just change it, the entire system colors will change and it looks beautiful, but if you just go with the system settings, what happens is like anytime when you are trying to look into somebody's queries also, you can easily understand. Comments are green color, that's what I know. If you change to red color, still looks good, but you cannot easily remember. That's the only question here. So that's about the comments, how you can just make it as a single line, how you can make it as multiple lines. All right, so before we actually get into some more terms, we need to understand there are two things very closely. One is GUI, which stands for Graphical User Interface, and one is CUI, which stands for Character User Interface. All right, there are two terms which is being most widely used in any technology. Okay, in any relational database management system, that is GUI, which stands for Graphical User Interface, and one is CUI, which stands for uh, Character User Interface. So by using graphical user interface, what I mean is it is a user interface which use basically to interact with the application by making use of a graphs. For example, if I want to write a query, I can just click on new query. I can, if I want to create a table, I can click on a create table. This is nothing but you are using a graphical presentation, not writing your own query to do this. So that is graphical user interface. Those who use Excel extensively, they know very well what is a graphical user interface. That means you just click on the menu or toolbars to do your job, right? If you want to write a formula, you can just use a graphical user interface. Not all the time you'll write a formula by yourself. So CUI stands for the character user interface. That means writing your own query, okay, to interact with the applications, to create a database, to create a table, to insert data, to update or to delete. All these operations, whatever keep referring from the session one, can be done graphically, can be done by using a queries. Please do remember graphical user interface is always easy, but let's not to get used to it. The thing is, in every software, it is a different. If I'm using Microsoft SQL Server, it's different. If I'm using MySQL, is different. If I'm using SQLite, is different. If I'm using Oracle, it is different. If I'm using Portuguese SQL, is different. If I'm using Cassandra, it's different. If I'm using what do you call Teradata is different. So try to get used to writing queries by your own, so that, because as you know, like SQL is a standard language which can be implemented in all the relational database management system. However, we'll try to see both the cases initially to understand what is a graphical user interface. All right. Okay, so as we have seen how to connect to SQL Server, okay, by using SQL Server's Management Studio. SQL Server Management Studio, that is SSMS. Having connected to SQL Server, now it's a time to create a database. Okay, now it's a time to create a database itself. Please do remember one important note here. In your real life, that is in the live environment, you'll never get an opportunity to create a database. Why? Because when I join a company, already the company might be having a database, and that DBA will give me instructions, only use this database to create your tables. So that means I will never get a chance to create a database until unless if you are using your personal laptop or desktop to test how to create it. So we are just checking how to create a database on your personal laptops, but never try on your company's laptop or company's desktop, because even if you try to create, it will tell you that you do not have permission to access this query. All right, that's an important note which we need to remember. You cannot create a database in the live environment. Had it been it's my personal laptop, I can create, I can delete, I can drop whatever I want to do. I can do all those operations. So the very first thing which we are going to learn today is very first query which I'm going to write is creating a database. Okay, so why I need to create a database? Can I create a table straight away? Because I'm from the background called MS Access. Okay, Microsoft Access. Those who are already using it or they are familiar with it. We don't create a database there. We are straight away create a tables, because Microsoft Access is a desktop application. That single application itself is a database. So we'll straight away create a tables, but we'll not create a database there. But being it is a server based applications, first you need to create a database, then you need to create your tables. Every system can have a multiple databases, and every database can have multiple tables. It's completely up to the organization how many databases they want to have. For HR, they want to have a separate database. For marketing, they want to have a separate database. Uh, and for finance they want to have a separate database, for analytics they want to have a separate database. It's completely company's requirement, because whenever you're creating a database it requires some space on the server, right? So obviously they may end up having one or two database, sometimes 10 or 15 databases. It's completely a business requirement and the company's requirement and the number of users who are trying to access them. So that's important note we need to remember. As I said, we can create whatever the operations, not only creating database, whatever the operations which you are trying to use. In case of your Microsoft SQL Server, it will allow you two ways, that is by using graphical user interface and uh, character user interface. That is two ways we can do it, but let's try to see both the ways here just to make ourselves comfortable before we actually getting into a simple to complex queries. This is the first step which you are taking today to creating a database. So in order to create a database, of course I can write straight away here, but I want to take the help of a object explorer to see what are the different databases I have currently, so that I can really understand. Let me keep this window separately so that I can see clearly. Okay, so we have a database here already. Okay, under that we have a system databases, but I don't have my own database. And never try to create any database under the system databases. As I said, system database are really, really important for the effective function of this tool, whatever the tool which you're seeing on the screen right now. If you want it to work effectively, we need all these databases. So our job, our intention is not to rely on these databases, but you want to create your own database. So what happens when I create a database? What I want to do, let's try to see everything in action. But before we start writing a query or design your own database, first we need to understand what are the different things I can do with the database. One thing is I can, let me write down here so that it can help you to remember. One thing is I can create a database. Second thing is I can, maybe I want to rename the name of the database, or I want to drop it. Nothing but you usual English word is delete the database. So if you, even if you see practically, I can either create it, either I can rename it, because my boss is not liking it. So I want to rename it. I want to give a nice name to it. Later, I think this database is no more in use, so I want to drop it. That's nothing but deleting the database from your system for permanently. So these are the only three functionalities which you are going to do on the database. If you know how to write the query for these three uh, segments, if you know how to graphically do it, whatever the case might be, whether you're doing it graphically, whether you're writing a query, the purpose is same. You want to finally achieve what you want to do. That is creating, renaming it, or dropping it. Let's see in action how to do it graphically. First, I'm interested in graphical, but as I said, let's not get used to this graphical, because every software, that is relational database management system, as I said, Microsoft SQL Server, SQLite, Oracle, PostgreSQL, MongoDB, Cassandra, whatever you use in the real time, they have a different interfaces because they're all not from the same mother, right? SQL Server is from Microsoft, MySQL is from Oracle, uh, SQL it is again Microsoft, Oracle is Oracle Corporation. So they have their own style of options, toolbars, menus, different style of accessing things. So don't get used to GUI, but if your company is really, really using SQL Server, so try to get used to GUI method as well. So the very first one, it looks so easy to create a database. The thing is, if I want to create a new folder in my Windows Explorer, I want to just compare with my Windows Explorer, because these are the two drives which I can see in my system. If I want to create a new folder, it's quite simple. Just I click a new and folder. Guys, remember, this is what I'm talking about, a graphical user interface. That means I'm just trying to make use of the options graphically which are available in my system. That is, I'm clicking on new and clicking on folder. So easy to create a new folder, right? But if you want to write a query for that, okay, we do write a queries. Those who know MS-DOS, those who know command prompt, from there also we can create a new folder, that is make directory. We can create by writing the queries also. That is a CUI, that is a character using interface. This is what I'm using right now. It's kind of a little bit cheating. I'm just trying to use a graphical user interface to make my job done. Both are same. Ultimately, what you want, you are doing the job. So this is how I'm creating a folder. I want to give it some nice name to it. So I given the name. Later I thought it's not required. I'm deleting it. So these are the only three functionalities which you do with a folder, right? You create it, rename it, or simply drop it. So let's come back to our Object Explorer where I want to create a database. Now, by this time, you might have already understood. I just clicked on right click. I clicked on new. I clicked on folder. So what's wrong? Let's try the same thing here. I clicked on the database. I clicked on the new database. Very easy. Just click on it. Now, once you click on this new database, what you're going to see is a lot of options coming in, and it is asking you, what is the database name you want to give? Do you have any name for it? So let me say Monty as a name. Okay. When I click on, when I just mentioned as a Monty, can you just observe at the bottom, there are two things are coming up. One is, okay, let me complete my name, Monty. I'm getting two things here, Monty underscore log. Let's try to understand more about that. That is important, but in the real environment, you will not see that. Being it my personal system, I'm able to explore it. You can explore it, but not in the real time. Once I click on Monty and I said, okay, that's it. No query, nothing. I created my database. Now click on the databases that is sitting at the top. Click on it. We have something called system databases. I'm not interested, but do I have my own database now? Yes, of course. We have Monty as a new database for the first time on your screen right now. So when you click on this, you never mentioned that you want all these folders. Did you mention? No. Once you create a database, what happens is your DBMS software will try to create all those necessary folders which are really supporting for this database. It has a tables as a folder where all the tables are going to, whatever the table you are going to create under this Monty database, all these tables will be sitting under the tables folder. Whatever the programs you are going to write, the programs will be sitting here. So we'll talk about more about this later because my interest is to create the database, and later on in the upcoming sessions we'll see how to create a tables also. Now I've created my database. My database is ready, but it is an empty canvas now. It doesn't have anything at all. So let me explore more. I clicked on tables. I have system tables. I have file tables. Nothing. That means the moment I created a database, I can see all the folder structure by default created by my software itself. I have not created anything because whenever you try to write a query, it will try to put it in a particular folder. Whenever you try to create a table, it will try to put it in a separate folder. Whenever you create a stored procedure is nothing but a group of commands which you put together will be sitting in a one particular folder. So it is nicely, very neatly designed by Microsoft. All these folder structures is by default available whenever you create a database. So the very first one have seen how to create a database. Now the question is how to rename it. Okay, let me go to my Windows Explorer again. I just go to the folder, drive. I clicked on new, say folder. That's it. I got a new folder. But however, I'm not liking the name of the folder. It's saying new folder. I want to say Monty folder. What's wrong in that? So once you say Monty folder, what you're trying to do here, you are trying to do a change or you're doing some kind of alteration for your folder. The same way here I'm referring to renaming it. So let me rename. Can I do it right away from this graphical user interface? Right click. I have a new database, new query, lot of options available. Let me go for a rename here. Once I click on a rename, what happens here? It is allowing me to make your database name to a different name, that is from Monty to Monty 1. Let me say that and say, okay, that's it. My database name itself is changed completely, right? From the default style, I've changed to some different style because my boss is not liking this name anymore. So he suggested some important name which is apt for your company, or which is apt for your portfolio or for your process or for your project, whatever it may be. So this is how quickly I've changed. I created, I renamed it. Now the question is how to drop it. So let me go to Windows Explorer again. I don't know if it is a better comparison. That's what I realized while I was doing this. uh, yes, of course, it's a better comparison. I'm just created a folder. I'm just clicking on it, right click it and say delete, or you can use a keyboard shortcut, Control Shift and say yes, your folder is deleted. Once the folder is deleted, that means the folder is permanently removed from the memory of your system. The same case, what happens is when you're trying to right click And there is an option here, no need to think much, just click on this delete option. Okay, it will ask you, are you really interested to delete this, because you are trying to delete something which is a database itself, right? So yes, I'm interested. So once I say okay, you will not find this database anymore in your system environment. Being I'm the client here, being I'm the DBA, obviously I have not set any rules. I have not created any backup source. That means if something is by mistake deleted or intentionally deleted and I want to recover it, it is not possible. Once you delete it forever. What happens in the live environment then? I'm working in some XYZ company. I deleted something by mistake, okay, or with intention, okay, with a bad intention, I deleted it. Your company will definitely have some backup server where all the deleted information or newly added information will be stored in a backup server all the time, provided if your company is appointed a DBA who is managing all these things. But being it's my personal system, I don't have such hard and fast rules. I'm creating it, deleting it, renaming, whatever I want to do, I'm able to do it. Now, again, my SSMS, that is SQL Server Management Studio, is completely empty canvas. It doesn't have anything at all on my system right now. So let me create once again. Okay. With the graphical, already we have seen how to create new database. After creating it, how to rename it, how to drop it. Now, for the first time, I'm writing my command to create this database, guys. Here, even if you search the Google or even if you ask somebody how to create a database, they will tell you simply a query. Of course, that's very important for me to create a database, but I want you to understand the real importance and breaking down the query into parts and understanding how this query is written so that you will never forget in your life again how to create a database. Not just remembering, don't try to remember the commands, try to understand the query. I'll break it down into pieces and visualize it and try to see practically on your screen. Let's see the first query. As I said, I want to create a database. Okay, so I'm writing my own notes here. Okay, I'm writing my own notes. I am creating my first database. So what do you mean by this line? Am I writing any query here? No, it's only a comment for my understanding what I'm doing here. So this is a comment. Comment is always in green color. That's what we understood. As I said, like we have few colors. Let's try to explore more while writing the queries here. So this is a comment which I'm trying to give additional information. What I'm going to do, I'm trying to explain you guys through the help of a comment here, right? Tomorrow when my fine day, when I wish to visit this particular window again, I can easily recollect what I've done here exactly. Okay. So the very first one, again, remember whether you're writing an uppercase, lowercase, proper case, doesn't matter. Please do remember, I'm writing everything in uppercase so that you can visually see very clearly. Okay, that's the only intention. Otherwise, doesn't matter how you're writing. So when you want to create your first database by using a query, that is SQL queries, okay, we need to use the very first command called create. Okay, now create comes under which category? Create
DDL.
comes, yes, DDL, that is a data definition language. So we are trying to create a new structure either, or you're trying to rename that structure. You're doing some structural changes, that is DDL. So that's how let us start asking ourselves a question. When I'm writing a query, let's try to ask ourselves a question. This comes under which category? That's how easily we can remember. So the very first command for the first time of writing, that is a create command. So always remember, you are queries always start with one or other command which is classified under DDL or DML or TCL or DQ or whatever the classifications you have seen so far. Every query starts with one or other command. But now my intention is to create a database. Obviously, the way I'm speaking, create database. So it's so easy. I said create. Now let's take a one step back here. I've written create. It's coming in a blue color by default. That means it's a keyword. It's a command of SQL by itself, right? So it's a create is a command which is a keyword. That's why it's showing up in blue color. But what about the first line which is showing in the green color? There is a lot of difference, right? This is not a query. This is a comment. This is a query. That's why we are able to see create and still showing error. Is it any problem with my spelling? No, not really, because you have not completed the query. So it will still try to show as an error only at this moment. Now, I said create as a command. Then I'm using a space, use database. You said you want to create, but can you please confirm you want to create a table? Do you want to create a database? You want to create a procedure? You want to create what you want to create actually? Please try to make me understand what you want to create. So I'm trying to tell SQL, can you please create a database for me? So that's how created I used the very first command from the DDL. I picked up from the DDL. I used create. Then I used a keyword, the object name itself, that is database. Now once you give the space, it will you need to mention what is your database name, that is Monty, let's say Monty. So this is the way of writing a query in your SQL Server or any relational database management system, not only SQL guys. From here onwards, whatever I'm writing, just don't believe me that I can write only in SQL. No, you can write whatever the software available in your companies, use the same command to create the database, but never try it. As I said, database, you cannot create it. Maybe you can try, but you will definitely get an error saying that you do not have the privileges of creating a database by yourself. So this is the first command I've created. Now the question is, okay, there is one more important note to be remember. This is my complete line of syntax. Let me break it down. Create is a command from DDL. What I want to create, I mentioned it. What is the name I want to give? So three parts here: create database, and what is the name of your database? Monty is my database. So this is how you are just going to speak to your system in order to make your job done. Now the question is, I written the query. Is that mean my Monty database is already created? No, you have to run this program. You need to execute this query so that this query instruction will go to the server. Assuming that we are in the corporate world, we are like 10-15 users. Somebody has run this query, create database Monty. This instruction will go from SSMS, that is management tool, management studio, what you see on my screen right now. This instruction will go to the server and it will create a database in the server, not on your system, please, not on your system, but that entire system server tree structure we can view through the help of Object Explorer here. The database, what I'm clicking, I'm renaming it, I'm dropping it, I'm doing every operation through the client system, but the operations is being done at the server, not at the client. Now, let me see how to run the query itself. Okay, if I want to run this query, either you can use fi key. Okay, fi key, let me write here. To run the key, there are three different ways. One is using fi key, okay, from your keyboard. They're very important because we are in the first stage of writing something and executing. If you know how to execute going on, it will be very easy. Second one is you can click on execute the option. Okay, there are two different ways. Again, everything is I'm commenting it because those are not queries. So whenever we want to run, I can simply use fi key. Very interesting. Just click on fi key, your query will be executed. But please do remember, don't never try to use fi key all the time. The reason is today I've written only one query. Tomorrow, if I've written 100 queries, all the queries will step by step will start running on your system, which is not good because I've created database. I don't want to create again, right? So please select the query. Please select the query. Use hit fi key. If you don't select that portion of the query, what happens is it will run all the queries on your system, whatever the queries you have written. We'll see now. I cannot show you in action because only one query is existing. You can select this portion. You can execute, click on execute. I don't know the shortcut. Don't forget to look at that tooltip box, which is coming and helping you. That is, you can use fi key to run this query. Okay. Now let me click on execute now, or you can just use fi key. Please do start practicing that habit of selecting the query and running it. If you don't select, what happens is it will run entire code what is there. Of course, not the green color lines. It is not a code, but whatever the queries you have written, it will run all the queries, which doesn't make any sense. Whatever the operations you are doing, only that operation to be executed at this moment. So you have to select it and click on fi. Now, once I click on fi, what happens? What I'm going to see, of course, the way you have created a graphical user interface database, the same way I'm going to create the database. But who will tell me this operation is really completed. Your query is successfully completed. Your query is having some problems. Who is going to tell me? Let's see. Once I click on FI key, immediately at the bottom, you're going to see a beautiful dialog box, which is going to keep telling you, boss, your command has completed successfully. That means what you have done is a great job. I could able to create a database for yourself. So you can see completed successfully. So that means this command, whatever the command I've given or the query which I've written, you can call it as a command, because you are, it's kind of instruction which you are going to give your system that I want to do this, or it could be a query. So when I ran this, my command is successfully done. So I keep checking where is my system now. Let me go to database, go to system database, go to this one, go to this one. No, I fail to find my Monty database. The problem is, whenever you create something, as I said, you're not creating a database on your system, right? You are creating on the server. So that means I need to refresh this server. I need to refresh this server. There are different ways of servers. Refresh again. Right click on this and say refresh, or you can just click on this tiny box at the top which says refresh. Once you click on refresh, what happens is instantly you're going to see your own database for the first time with the help of query, that is create database. I can see Monty database here, and I can see also tables. But do I have a really tables here? No, because I have not reached to that place where I can start creating creating a tables for myself. Guys, this is the first query which we have learned, that is how to create a database. Now let me select this again, run this query. What happens when I run this Monty database again? It will tell you very, very clearly, database Monty is already existing, choose a different database name. So if I want to understand what is my error, don't really bother. Okay, your SQL server will clearly prompt you what is the problem with your query. That means what you're trying to do and what is the solution for that also it will try to provide. So don't need to check anywhere. Try to write, explore yourself, find the error, try to find the meaning of the error, and try to change your track of writing the query. That is, database Monty is already existing, choose a different database name. So I understood, okay, I cannot create database with the same name again. So can I create with one? Yes, of course, because that's a different name, right? Monty is different, Monty 1 is different. So obviously it said Monty 1, it's available, we can create it. So again, I don't find my Monty here, so I need to refresh it. We need to refresh your system because the server is not sitting on your system. So once you click on this refresh, you'll see Monty and Monty 1. So that's how you can see two databases are lying on your system. But one interesting part which you'll never find in the live environment, which I want to show you, what happens exactly when you create a database on your system. Okay, on your SSMS tool, what happens? As I said, your server is not sitting on your system when you're working in a live environment, but I've been working on my personal system. I'm working on my personal. I can see where this database is created and where it is occupying the memory. I just right click on your any of your database and go to the properties. What happens is it will show you very clearly where I'm sitting. Okay, at this moment where I'm sitting. When you right click, you'll get this dialog box. Don't explore much. Just click on the files. And here we can see, here we can see it is telling you just to create Monty 1 database, it has created two primary files in your system, in your local drive, because this server has been installed in my C drive. So that is my local system, right? So it is telling you there are two logical names, okay, that is Monty 1 and Monty 1 underscore log. Let me try to understand more. I'll go to this path and see what it is trying to do actually. Is it really creating something behind the scenes for me? I'll go to the run command, or you can go to the Windows Explorer to run your, you can just, okay. Once you open this, what happens is, once you open that, once you copy that path and try to open the run command or go to the Windows Explorer and try to find out where is your Microsoft SQL Server is loaded, like my C drive program files, every program will be loaded into the C drive and program files. Under the Microsoft SQL Server, under the Express Edition, under that MS SQL, under the data, there, I've not written this path, I just copied and pasted. And you can see there is a Monty 1, Monty, Monty 1, and Monty 1 log. There are two files are being created. Okay, there are two different files created, and you can see, you can never see these two files in your live environment. The reason is you cannot simply just copy the path and go to that path and see these files. You cannot see because you'll not have that privilege, because once you created, somebody is trying to protect them from the behind the scenes, that is DBA. So the first file is called as what do you call as, let me make a note here. The first file is called as MDF, and the second file is LDF. There are two files are created, as I said. One is MDF, one is LDF. You can, let me go to this Explorer again. One is MDF, one is LDF. So what exactly is this MDF and LDF? Okay, let's try to explore more. Monty one, that's the name of my database. And this is the date modified. This is the type. And what is the size of it? You can see here, I haven't created anything in my database, but already it is taken 2240 KB, and the log file which is created, that is 560 KB. So that means it's completely empty, and it's already occupied so much of space on my system, not MBs but KBs. Yes, but just imagine the companies which are trying to use SQL Server, they are trying to use a lot of space from the server. So definitely they will try to buy a lot of space for you in order to create the database and the tables. So these two files that are related to just a database, one database will have two files. For instance, if you see Monty1, there are two databases, Monty log. Okay, then we have Monty1 underscore log. So there are two files created for each database. One is MDF and the second one is LDF. So MDF stands for master data file. MDF stands for, let me write here, master data file. This is completely SQL Server program, which I'm trying to tell you, but it's not really required, just to have an additional information where exactly my database is getting stored. And do remember, guys, in live environment, you're not going to see this because you'll not have an access to that path and to see all these things. This is called as a log data. There's a log data file. So there are two things, as I said. By the way, you can just put the way you want this little dialog box which is coming at the bottom, which is nothing but the output information. Okay, you can just drag it the way you want, and thus you can make it a little slimmer so that you can have more room to write your queries and see the output. And that's how you can design your own style. So master data file, what it consists of actually, let me go back to the folder again, and master data file will consist of all those tables information, all those transactional information, what you are trying to create in the database. As I said, a single database can have multiple tables. How many tables? I'm not sure, because it depends upon the company how many they want. If you're using a personal system, you created two tables today, tomorrow you created 30 tables, because that's your requirement. That's how you can keep growing the tables in a one particular database. There is no restriction. As long as you have a space on your C drive, you can create as many as you want. In the same case goes with the live environment as well. So basically the Monty without any extension is a MDF, which stands for master data file, and LDF stands for log data file. Log data file best try to record, it's basically just try to record all those basic information or something like recovery information of the database. For example, tomorrow if we lost this database, this log file will try to store all the information, how to retrieve this database, what kind of transactions been imposed in this particular database. So never try to delete manually this from this folder, like a folders what you have in the Windows Explorer. That's not good. So that's how I just created the very first database. All right, guys. So we have seen how to create a database. As I said, if you want to be the master of this particular creating a database and working with a database, there are only three things we can do. Hardly we can do. Even if you research, you'll end up getting only three possibilities. One is creating a database. Second is one is creating. One is renaming.
Rename.
And the third one would be dropping or delete. So what else you can do with the database actually? It's an empty canvas what we are trying to create, empty a vacuum area where we are trying to create. So first I created, now my intention is to rename it. Why I'm renaming it? Again, the question is because once you create a database, somebody said from a stakeholder's perspective, or the business, or your boss said, or your IT has instructions, don't give such names. Try to give a nice name, which is app for your company or app for your process, because Monty is not an appropriate name to give a database, right? You're working in a finance, so you want to give finance underscore database underscore something something, which is apt for your company. You can go up to 255 characters of length of database name. So try to give an appropriate name. Here I'm for the fun, I've given Monty one, which doesn't make any sense at all. Okay, I don't know Monty stands for, is it related to finance or HR or sales or pharmaceutical? I don't know anything, because I just given a name just like that. Now the thing is to rename the database. We know the importance of rename. Okay, why we are renaming? Because we want to give the actual name of the database, not Monty or something. Okay, so to rename the database, there are two ways. Okay, I'm dropping one way of creating, that is renaming, that is using stored procedure, which we cannot understand at this moment. Last minute we'll see how to rename through other way, but let's try to see what is the first way of writing, that is using a query command. Okay, so if you want to rename, as I said, like we are using a create command to create a database, right? So to rename, I want to pick up from DDL again, because I'm trying to do some structural changes here. So let me use a very first keyword to, in order to do the renaming here. First, I used alter. So what this alter is going to do, alter is a command which can change certain things here. Okay, it can rename it, it can drop it, it can uh, give a new column. But I am creating a table here to add a column? No, I'm just renaming it. So you said alter. What you want to alter? I want to alter database. Okay. Okay. So far it's good. You want to alter database, but which database? Okay. Let me say Monty 1. That's my database, which I can see on my screen right now. That is Monty 1. Okay. Or else let's try to modify the first one. That is Monty 2, Monty 2. Okay. This is the alter database Monty, and here I need to use one more keyword, modify. Okay, modify. What do you want to modify? I want to modify name equals to Monty 2. Let's try to understand more. I can see a few colors here. One is alter, database, modify. These are the keywords which I've been trying to use in order to modify a database. And name is again name, what name you want to give. So this is my old database name, this is my new database name. That means I'm trying to rename. Why you're writing so big query? Why can't you rename from here? Simply right click and rename. Of course I can do that, but here our intention is I want to go with the hardest part of writing queries and learning on my own to understand this SQL to become a master, right? So you just go with the graphical user interface, maybe you'll be master only in this SQL, SQL Server from Microsoft, but when you're turning out your career to Oracle or any other relational database management system, your trick will not work. So what trick will work is writing queries by yourself. All right. So I used the alter database, and what is my old database, and what is the keyword which I'm using? I'm modifying it. I'm trying to give a new name to it. So I'm not interested in hitting F5, because if I hit F5, what happens is first it will run this query, second it will run this query. So that's a problem when you are trying to hit F5. Let me run F5. What happens? Let's see. If I'm trying to click on F5 now, first you will be getting error. That is database Monty1 is already existing. Please, can you please choose a different name? And the second query, the database name Monty2 has been set. So that means, can you just try to understand here, when I'm running F5 key here, it is trying to run step by step in the sense it is first trying to check from here. Okay, two hyphens, just ignore it. Forward slash and star, ignore it, because these are nothing to do with my running queries. So it will come to that line where actually the commands are written. Okay, it is checking the first line. Okay, it is executing. It is checking the second line. It is executing. So it's very, very, very dangerous to hit the F5 straight away, because you keep writing the queries and you don't want to run all the queries, because the database Monty1 is already created, and why you're creating again. So just ignore it. And please select this and use the F5 key. I don't want to use it again because already. Okay, let me try to rename again. Monty2, it will simply say what you're talking about. Database Monty does not exist and you're trying to rename it. Can you enter correctly? So database Monty is already being changed to Monty 2. So that's why it's not allowing me to do any other options. So it's not yet showing up here. As I said, keep pressing F, keep pressing Fi key here. What happened? All right, this is how you're going to alter your database, nothing but modifying your database. Now, the interesting part, if you go to that Windows Explorer again, what you have seen that file paths, how do I get that file path? Just to click on any one of the database, go to the properties. I want to view, is it really created Monty 1 and Monty 2 there? Just go to the files and copy this path. Either you can go to, if you are aware what is the path, you can go, or else you can just type it run command here and put it your path and see, okay, that's it. You'll go to that folder. I should be seeing, it's not yet refreshed here again. Okay, you should be seeing Monty1 underscore log, Monty2 underscore log. It's not refreshing. Okay, so that's how in real time behind the scenes, this is what happens, but you'll never get a chance to see it anyhow. Now, how to drop a database. Let's see how to drop a database. Dropping database. So why you drop a database, and here one important note to be understood. Let me drop it, but we'll speak later. Drop database is nothing but you are trying to delete forever from your system. If your DB is maintaining any backup server, you can retrieve your database anytime. That's a different story, but being it's my personal system, I can never retrieve back. So drop database, dropping database. So drop is nothing but coming under from again a DDL. So let me start using drop as a command. Okay, drop. You want to drop a database. So let me say database, but which database you want to drop? So Monty 1, let me say Monty 2. Okay, I want to drop a database Monty 2. When I select this and run it, it will clearly mention that Monty 2 command successfully completed. So that means Monty 2 is dropped now. Monty 3, I want to drop now. Let me run this. Cannot drop the database Monty 3 because it does not exist on your exit, or you do not have a permissions. First of all, I don't have any Monty 3 here. I'm just trying to run and see what kind of errors I can see there. So Monty 1, can I drop and see? Yes, Monty 1 can be dropped because it's already existing. And there is a very interesting thing in your SQL Server, which most of you guys have seen in VB editor. You'll get something, a tiny box, okay, little box, which is called as IntelliSense. That means when you forget the spellings of your database, or if you are not aware, just you can select from here. Okay, whenever you are trying to type something, it will prompt you what are the different database you have. If I'm trying to type here, I don't have any Monty database, but you have a model database, which is a system database again. So whenever you're trying to type the first few letters of your database, it will show you all the database existing in your system, which you can simply don't write everything and just select like this and over. So that's how you can drop a database. So I'm saying Monty again, just for to have your reference, which is not existing anyway. Okay, Monty 3, Monty 2. So let me see if my system refreshes. By this time, I should not see anything in my system. All right, so this Monty is not existing, but it's still showing up in my system. It's not refreshed. All right, I lost these two. It's all about system refresh. Okay, you need to just click on this tidy box or just use this FI key to refresh your environment of your Object Explorer to see if the database is existing or not. So if I try to drop this again, which is not existing, and how do I know this table database is existing or not? But you can see there's a red color underline which is trying to show you something error with that. Okay, you can see very clearly there is a line which is showing, and when you place your mouse pointer, okay, it is telling me a red color line for that name, but I don't know what it mean actually. If you want to explore more, just place your mouse pointer. You can see cannot drop this database Monty 2 because it does not exist in your system environment, or you do not have a permission. So this is what happens exactly in your live environment. Though you can see the database, but you cannot drop it because your DB has set certain permissions that you are not supposed to drop it. You're not supposed to create it. You're not supposed to alter it. Tables, your wish, because that's a user-defined tables you created for your project. But database, never you can create. So this is how quickly I learned something new today. That is, whenever I see any text with underlined red color, that means it is having certain issue. It is not happy. Your SQL Server is not happy what you have written here. So how do I know SQL Server is not happy and there is an issue with this? Just place your mouse pointer there. Okay. Most of the time, when you run it, you will get it here. Not most of the time, when you run it, you can see here. But while writing only, if you want to see what the error before you actually run, you can place mouse pointer there to see what is exactly happening. So we have seen how to create here. We have seen the three commands here. Okay. And one thing you need to remember, whenever I just close my window, I'll be losing all those queries what I've written here, all those queries what I've written. So always try to ensure you are saving this query somewhere on your personal drive or in your desktop, so that whenever you come back, you can open that query and you can run it. So let me go and save it. I'm just saving this query as give some name. Maybe I want to save it on my desktop for now as a SQL query 1. You can give any name, and the extension of this file would be always .sql because it's an SQL query. Just save it, and even if you accidentally close this, doesn't matter now because you have that SQL Server file. So when you go and right click on the properties, you can see it is a .sql file. And what if I want to see in this notepad, because you've written a lot of complex queries in your laptop and you want to share the queries with me, you can just send it away this SQL query, okay, .sql file through the email. I can, if I don't have my SQL Server installed also, I can still see the query what you have written. Just right click on it and say open with, and you can simply click on notepad. Okay, I don't have, right click on this and you can open with any notepad. So let me open notepad here. Just drag it and drop it. I'm not able to open from there. You can see all those queries what I've written. I can see clearly for my reference. Okay, or you can share with your colleagues, something like that. And now you can see my SQL Server is not showing up on my screen, but when you click on this query, directly it opens Management Studio directly because you are opening a query here. So that's how I'll keep saving all the queries day to day. I mean, every week, whatever the queries I write, I'll also upload this query file onto the Google Drive so that you can directly run on your system irrespective of the version. Because everywhere, whichever the version you use, the extension will be .sql only. That's it. I got it. I open directly, and you see the difference when I directly open Management Studio. I get this one. When I'm running that SQL file directly, I'm trying to click. I'm able to see the query, but I cannot do anything because it's asking you, can you please connect? Then only I can show you what are the queries are available here. Okay, so once this is open, you can also connect from here. We have all those things what you have seen at the starting stage, database engine. Once you click on that, again, you will get it, because sometimes it happens like even in the live environment, you lose the connection. So you can get back, restore your connection by clicking on the connect database engine and say connect. It will instantly connect if your server is fine. Again, depends upon your server. So this is how I can just get my old stuff, whatever I've written for my practice purpose or the real time, and I don't want to execute it. I don't, before actually you move on to the production, till then these are all queries for testing purpose only, right? So you can save this all on your desktop if you have permission, or your local drive, or in the share path, something like this, so that you can keep testing them. Once everything is fine, you can move on to the production. That's how it real time works. So this is all about creating a database as a first step. I don't want to be in a hurry. Slowly we'll see how to create the tables. As I said, for the database, there are only 3 options, whatever you can do. Even if you do research, there are no 10 options, only 3 options here. Create, rename it, or you can drop it. Once you drop it, it is forever dropped it. So I said initially when I'm talking about drop, there is a very important note to be understood here. Here I'm able to drop a database, but do remember, in the real time, if a database consists of some hundreds of tables, I don't know how many tables, if you drop a database, it will simply delete all the tables which are existing in your database. It's very dangerous dropping a database. So before dropping database, think twice 100 times, because the database is not simple canvas. It has a lot of tables in it. It has a lot of information. So if you think along with the tables, along with the database, let it go tables also, then you can drop it, not a problem. But please ensure you are not dropping in real time by using drop command database with only if you have permissions. Obviously, you'll not allow anybody will allow you to drop because you'll have a restrictions there. So that's an important note. Please do not drop database if it is already having a tables. If you think it is not required, you can drop directly.